player, but it also then means that Uzi and Ming aren't going to get kind of two of their staple picks from the LPL or picks that they can really do a lot of damage. It means that Clutch Gaming may actually have an avenue to attack or somehow counter the Xayah Rakan that's surely incoming.
Well, we'll see whether it is going to be Rakan, but already the Xayah has been picked up. That's the Syndra we were talking about, and that could be the bottom lane locked in here for Clutch Gaming as we move immediately back over to RNG's side of that pick order. I do like the fact that they've given so much priority to Uzi's Xayah pick, because it feels right now, if you're going to play a standard AD carry, it's between theoretically Tristana, but mostly the Kai'Sa and the Xayah. These two, as far as late game carries, are really the ones to go to a world.
And there has been a small adjustment to Xayah since we saw her played in the playoffs for most regions, and her cooldown of the ultimate was nerfed, as well as a little bit of the armor off the champion. We know that in the hands of Uzi, though, coming into this tournament, biggest CS difference, very, very powerful laner. So let's see how he does handle it.
Already, we have a lot revealed to us. The fact that that is going to be a Syndra of the mid lane, and instead it's Cody Sun and Vulcan taking the Lucian Rakan down there. So a lot of firepower.
Too far.
That is true. Who needs in this game?
Exactly right. Demonte could also be picking up that Lucian. Certainly a lot of flexibility still available. I think I agree with you, Frosco, as far as that being the assumed place that it's going, but on this patch, you never really can tell until the very last second, and last game certainly proved that for us, and we might have those shenanigans once again as the Kayle, of course, locked in on RNG's side. And as far as Uzi is concerned, could you imagine, like, a champion that's
I'm going to say that it is not Uzi, even though we have just seen a bottom lane Kayle. Kayle, right now, for pro players, has played a lot in the mid lane as well as top lane.
Wondering where to put a Xayah if there's a Kayle in the bottom lane, but you can get excited about these sorts of things.
Let's get back to the jungler focus here, though. They take out both Rek'Sai and Jarvan, the AD threats that you're wanting, on the side of Clutch Gaming, for Lyra to have some early impact. Another thing that people have criticized for Clutch, though, is Lyra's reliancy on the Elise as well as Skarner. And Skarner is still available, so that's something they could fall to, but it's not going to be it. They want to turn up the pressure with Nocturne. Vedius would be shouting for a solo lane Nocturne, but I'm going to say this is a high chance of it being a jungle Nocturne for Lyra.
This can just be so dangerous, pending what that last pick is for Clutch, however, because you are now giving full reign to Karsa between levels 1 and 5 to just attack this map on a pick like his Lee Sin. He is an incredible Lee Sin player.
Well, there's the Blitzcrank locked in here for RNG. That looks like Xayah Blitzcrank will be on the bottom side of the map. Twisted Fate is a huge pick here for either side. That Paranoia plus the Destiny Gate combo is so huge globally. For Clutch Gaming, if they can get it. It is going to be Renekton considered here by RNG, though. They did have an opportunity to pick away that TF if they wanted him. And now Clutch will see whether they pull the trigger on a whole lot of different global options here for their composition, which I would love. They've been very clever at navigating early games, and I think that's going to be even more important against RNG that feel like a freight train.
Exactly. The last pick here for Clutch does need to be something that can come online fairly early for them. It also has to be something that can either pressure a Kayle top or deal with a Renekton top, because Kayle and Renekton, again, can be switched between mid and top lane. So Huni goes with an all-purpose pick, Gnar, something that has been rising in priority. Gnar is very good at being flexible as far as lane phase. You can play up and aggressively, or you can try and sit back in mini form, throw the boomerangs for CS. So it does give them a few more options and opens them up, even if there are a lot of flexes here from RNG.
But now that we have a look at both of these compositions, on Clutch Gaming side, it is very much about kind of that level and 2-item power spike. Things like the level 9 from the Syndra, like the first 2 completed items for the Lucian, first completed item for Nocturne, that's their window of power. That's when they want to attack. Whereas RNG have excellent bridging tools in the Renekton and Lee Sin, and then amazing scaling options in Kayle and Xayah. If this game goes the distance, RNG's composition should just muscle out.
There is some really, really intense strategy that needs to be used by Clutch Gaming in this game, because Kayle, if you group up as 5 and you Nocturne into that team that has Kayle, you are useless. However, if you Nocturne ult to split the enemy team up so that Kayle has no one in range for the ultimate, then Nocturne becomes the big counter. It's all about champion positioning here and how they set up the fights.
Yeah, and it's also about bridging towards that carry potential out of RNG. I want to see Karsa spend a little bit more time than he otherwise would towards the top side of the map, creating a monster out of this Renekton. as we get into game 2 of the group stage. RNG taking on Clutch. And I personally don't really know what to expect from this game. I loved watching Clutch. I thought that it was going to be harder for them in their play-ins best of 5, but they 3-0'd like it was nothing against Royal Youth. Can they now take that form into RNG is the question. And we'll be able to find out right now as we hit the rift. RNG on blue, Xiaohu already in the mid lane up against Demonte.
And we already had Lyra place the defensive ward in the tri-brush, so you can see at the top. Then go back, he's going to change his trinket there over to the sweeper. And we'll see if there's any sort of early invade. I doubt it with these team compositions, though. Usually when you see a Blitzcrank, you think, solo queue, everyone rush into the brush to try and get a level 1 kill. But that's not going to be what RNG are looking for in this game, given the champions.
But he did have a little bit of an adjustment. I mean, that rocket grab a little bit longer now was sort of like taken down a little bit. A couple of pegs were knocked out of it, but it is still pretty ridiculous. And some of the grabs you can go for earlier when it comes to these neutral objectives can be a little bit frustrating. So we'll see whether RNG go for anything a bit crazy. So far, not going to be happening as Ming has done exactly what you were talking about and switched over to that sweeper after placing his ward.
I mean, it's super exciting anytime there's a blitz in the game, but for one, it's the fact that it's Ming's blitz. This guy and the other 2 supports that the LPL have sent, I think are just incredible. International, world class, probably the 3 best supports out of the collective region have been sent to this tournament. So all my eyes are on Ming and how devastating he can be with that pole.
Well, laning phase is now upon us. The bottom side of the map is going to be a focus, especially if you're an RNG fan watching Uzi skate around the rift on his 80 carry of choice has always been a beautiful thing to watch. As already Vulcan's diving on forward. Cody-san with the piercing light, pretty strong, as Ming with the aftershock is going to keep himself alive. So relatively even trade between the 2.
Definitely an exciting bottom lane, right? This is Cody-san trying to return to the world stage, make up for one of the big plays that had him exit and has plagued him for so long, versus Uzi, the best AD carry for so long. And they're trying to abuse the 3 armor reduction that Xayah got in the lane phase, picking the Lucian into it, trying to go for those trades, not backing down from Uzi and Ming.
I also think it's really important for Clutch that they're able to attack in their lanes, having things like a Syndra, like a Lucian, like a Gnar, because they need to create space for Lyra. And like you said, Kobe, during draft select, if you really were going to try to target a weakness on CG, a lot of eyes have been looking on Lyra. So it's about, can Clutch protect him till he gets to that level 6, and then start opening up opportunities and plays. But that does mean that Karsa should have the first punch.
Yep, this is pretty understandable. Karsa making his way down as there's the relentless pursuit, and Cody gets out of the way of the rocket grab. Top lane, bit of a battle here as Longxing fighting onto Huni. A lot of damage, but in the meantime, in the mid lane, Demonte completely out of mana. Xiaohu trying to chase him down. He should be able to. The next slow will be available relatively soon. Both of them holding flashes as Demonte's moving towards Lyra. The flash comes in. Xiaohu gets the wall. Now Lyra's in there. The fear is going to proc. It's one more. No, it's not enough. First blood baited so beautifully from Demonte.
Guess what time it is?
It's Tanner time, Kobe!
A huge swing there. We just talked about how important it was that they were going to have to protect Lyra, that they had to be strong in their lanes, and RNG overreach, and Tanner Time closes the gap.
I mean, we're memeing about it, Tanner Time. He was just running for his life. No mana on Syndra.
He ran the right direction, all right?
This is what you call, again, trust in your teammates. Tanner's like, hey, Lyra, I'm coming over. I'm bringing a friend. We've got a Kale that's going to flash over the wall. Is that cool? Yeah, it's cool. I got the smite, and they're going to finish up the red buff. And Xiaohu's like, oh, my goodness. I better finish the job here. Demonte getting into the brush. The fear proccing at just the right time. So much tension in this early game play.
Oh, man, that was an epic bait on Demonte's side. That's all I'm going to explain it as. Definitely nothing up to chance in that moment whatsoever, as RNG do have the push here towards the bottom side of the map. Probably not something that Xiaohu's going to be too upset about. Not having a flash is
I'd be pretty upset.
I should be very upset about that, actually.
Well, I mean, theoretic, yes. However, he's Kale, so he's going to be okay, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with your assessment if he can bounce this wave. But if it stays locked here and Lyra gets level 6 and Xiaohu still doesn't have access to flash and he's looking across from a Syndra, that actually then is very punishing because you overreach so much to try to get the first blood, and then you can be punished again when Nocturne decides to ult you.
And game state continuously has to be reevaluated here. Two things happened there. Not only did Damonte get the first blood money, he got the extra experience for it and didn't have to use teleport to get back to lane. Xiaohu has had to use both summoners here. So the Kayle already having to deal with a deficit, and it looks like Clutch Gaming will use that extra pressure to team up once again, go for the deep invade, and try and cut off the bottom lane to open up Cody, Sun, and Vulcan to continue doing their work, try and play aggressively down there. It's going very poorly, though. Uzi is slamming them in CS so far, with just the one kind of pass by for Karsa. Even though the hook didn't land, it did make Cody, Sun, and Vulcan back off the wave, and they have subsequently lost quite a bit of CS.
Well, Karsa's actually towards the top side of the map. Huni looking for that hyper proc, will get the extra movement speed, but the stun is going to land, and Karsa immediately puts Huni in the ground. Teleport now he's going to come through, and Damonte finds himself 1 versus 2. He thought his Gnar was going to survive. The scat of the week is pretty good as Lyra is eventually going to turn up, but there's the Ruthless Predator, and there's Longxing picking up another one on the top side for RNG.
Yeah, you cannot cancel teleports any longer, so Damonte trying to protect his top laner there. Starts to teleport for Huni, but he gets bursted down in mini form. Very nice execution from LongX and Karsa to get that kill, and turning it into then just a Syndra teleporting into your waiting arms with no flash means it is 2 kills for RNG. They immediately take back the early game.
Yeah, it was just, this is delicious. Thank you for the free food right here, as Damonte is like, Lyra,
yeah, that's a no.
remember when I came over? How about you come over right now? And then Lyra very quickly changes his mind and doesn't double or triple down, excuse me, into this one.
Yep, the Umbra Blade's not quite enough to lock down any sort of the kills. Lyra does go back relatively close to the Warrior Enchant, but now 1-0-1 for Karsa, his Lee Sin that we know so well from many different teams that he's been on the world stage. He's now set up to really get himself through this early game.
And I want people to kind of cast their mind back to what happened to RNG when they were looking for their old golden road and fell short on the world stage to G2. And it was the fact that they were attacked in the solo lanes, that Xiaohu and Let Me did not have the performance that they needed on the international stage. This iteration of RNG with Longxing is different. That will not happen. This guy is a carry-oriented top laner, and even though RNG don't usually play through him, in a play like that right there, you can see how different this team can be on their next berth at Worlds.
Yeah, very good job for Karsa to recognize the open gank on Huni, even though Clutch Gaming had invaded on RNG's red side jungle and place down those wards, he still is able to get the gank off on Huni, get behind him, and completely turn this game around, because not only, again, did they get that kill on Huni and burn the flash, but they got Damonte's teleport, which brings the mid lane back in line.
Well, Longxing taking a bit of damage here onto Huni. It looked like a decent trade, but when you're a lumbering crocodile and you need to get out of the way of this little rat throwing his boomerangs around, it does become a little bit more difficult. Lyra up towards the top side, Paranoia in hand. And there is the crush. Huni was looking for the Gnar into the wall, but not quite in range to get that one done as he shoves this wave in.
Yeah, Huni was looking for a potential opportunity to try to use that Paranoia, but I think that Lyra was actually just there for security, hovering underneath Huni while he was pushing the wave, trying to get that bounce so it's in a better spot. And this is something that I want to draw attention to with Huni as the tournament goes on. He's actually really smart about what he does with his time and making sure that he's always getting something from Clutch. You don't necessarily have to just sit and camp his lane for Huni to be effective, because he makes sure that he plays weak side really well, he plays strong side well, and any opportunity that he has, he's ducking into the jungle and trying to find information for his team.
Now you can see Karsa has moved ahead of Xiaohu, who was sitting at second on gold, despite the little mishap in the earlier stages of the game. He does have the Kleptomancy, so will have a bit more money. But Damonte still has the most money in the game.
Karsa was also just seen on a ward, so Clutch Gaming know that he is top side. They have a good 30 seconds before he gets back out onto the field, and I like this call. They're trying to actually use that information. Let me point it out for you. There was a ward right here on Gromp that saw Karsa, and he subsequently put down the control ward, but Clutch will use that information to try and start up the dragon. Bottom lane is going to have something to say about it, though.
Yeah, and there are teleports from RNG, so if they really want to force this, they can be there.
Yep, Xiaohu's is just about to come back up as Ming knows exactly what's happening here. There's the grand entrance, but Ming does proc his Aftershock and isn't going to get taken down too low. Great double stun with that scat of the week as Cody Sun as well. with his culling into the backside of Uzi, takes him down to below half, and Clutch, they take away the Mountain Drake, and they have life leads in multiple lanes.
Now, it was definitely a very high-value culling right there for a lot of harassment, but it should also be noted that Nocturne... Oh!
There's the Rocket Grab. Is Vulcan in trouble? The Blade Caller. Oh! Is it going to be enough? He's burning. The last tick, and Ming picks up the kill onto Vulcan. The third for RNG, and Ming is able to slink away as, Cast is down there. Dominus has been popped, though, as in goes the Paranoia. They're trying to take him down. It's one more auto. Make that two as Huni will get the Mega Nut. Doesn't even need it, and they get the dive on the top side of the map as Demonte lands himself a nice stun in mid lane.
But trading pressure across map. Now, it is going to be plates for both sides, as I believe Huni will also push in that wave top. But now it's the question, who can carry harder? Is it the fact that RNG, the plan went according to how they want? They got everything into Uzi's pocket. They ganked his lane. They're now forcing this down, whereas Clutch are trying to get everything they can on the top side of the map.
That wouldn't be a Clutch game without the Rift Herald being started up as well at around 10 minutes, and Lyra is going to be there. His mid laner did have priority, so they're going to easily be able to grab this as Longshin gets up towards a turret that has minions already attacking it.
And RNG, no strangers to giving up Rift Herald. RNG have the lowest Rift Herald control in all of the LPL. They've got just over 30% because of their focus on the bottom lane. Again, this is going according to their plan. Bottom lane dive, lining up right now. RNG, go for it!
In goes Kasa, gets the mini stun into the wall, but Cody-san has to dash all the way out. Xiaohu moving on forward as Huni trying to dive in. The Blade Call will be available as there's the Divine Judgment. Uzi just uses it for protection, goes down to 200 health, but Clutch unable to capitalize on the struggling AD carry on RNG's side here after that exchange.
Uzi still held on to his flash, so he's really trying to bait Huni in to try to commit to that one, but they should be shoving it in and looking for their resets, while Clutch Gaming are just trying to stop the bleeding down here.
Yeah, with that teleport from Huni bottom lane, it allows Renekton to push in on the turret. Longshin getting multiple turret plates for himself during that disengage. And unless Clutch Gaming use that Rift Herald on the push, either bottom side or mid, they're not going to get the money back.
And I would love to actually see them use it mid to make sure that those plates go into Syndra's pocket. I think Demonte really needs to stay ahead of the clock as far as Syndra is concerned, because a lot of her power is in her ability to assassinate 100 to 0 someone. And if you have the superior itemization, the superior levels, it makes it that much easier.
I think the really frustrating thing for Demonte is, if the Divine Judgment is used well by Xiaohu, he can deny any ultimate that he's going to press. They have to force so many different things if they're going to stop Uzi and Xiaohu from being frustrating, as that rocket grab grazed the backside.
I mean, I'm really
the little
glad that you bring it up, Max, because if you look at multiple champions across some RNG, Demonte doesn't have great targets. There are defensive tools pretty much across the board, and it was lucky thinking that it was going to be in the mid lane, but I do like the fact that Clutch are going to try to push through on the top side and match, again, split map. We talked about it in Champions League. It's literally happening right here.
Yeah, we could get a double charge as well from Shelly, so a bit of extra value. That inner turret not going to be repairing itself as Longshin gets up, but Shelly is already there and takes half the health bar off this inner. So I don't mind that idea. You know, you get a little bit more bang for your buck.
All right, as the map starts to open up with these towers going down, we'll take a look at the next Paranoia usage from Lyra, because this becomes incredibly important. You guys are referencing this Kayle ultimate over and over, and it's so big for the team fights, but Clutch need to take advantage while the team is split. That is the whole point, of this setup that they've drafted themselves. In order to do that, you have to continue to push out these side lanes, continue to apply pressure, and open up targets for that ultimate usage.
Now Demonte moving towards the top side. You can see Longshin just going to be pushing that wave out. They do have a couple of plates they can pick up in the next 5 seconds, but not going to do so. Longshin is going to head home, and Clutch move their bottom lane towards mid to try and get some control. And as we're cresting the 14-minute mark, the plates are going to fall down, and RNG have weathered the storm pretty well in this early game, and now are out with a 1,000 gold lead. Always scary territory, especially after listening to what the analyst desk had to say about RNG's control when it comes to moving past a mid-game.
But we talked about kind of where the windows of power were for both those comps. You talk about RNG weathering the storm. Kobe, sorry. I know you can smell it. You see the completed Luden's Echo. You see the fact that Lucian is sitting on one item. You know that Lyra is looking for that ultimate, the fact that they are in their window of power. Clutch have this kind of 7-minute moment where they can want to strike at RNG.
All right, the moment is approaching, and so is Cloud Drake.
There's the rocket grab. It's, oh no! It is going to be the ultimate utilized, so the Blitzcrank stays alive for so incredibly long, and Huni couldn't even get the ult off. There's the kickback though, they're trading! It is going to be a lot of damage. Dustspring is going to finish it off there, but Lyra sacrifices his life. It's 1-for-1 when it comes to the junglers, but Huni was for free at the beginning.
Huni getting bursted down there. No Mega Gnar for Clutch Gaming. Really good focus by RNG to finish him off, make sure he doesn't transform. If that Mega Gnar goes off, the team fight is completely different. But RNG, precise in their execution, and are awarded the dragon on top of it.
Basically outplaying that window. Like you said, the fact that Huni just pop goes the weasel before Gnar is even able to make an impact in the fight. And because RNG are winning fights when really they shouldn't be, if you look at the compositions, now this gets really scary for Clutch. The next team fight has to count for them. The only lucky thing is that it was a Cloud Dragon and not something like an Infernal or a Mountain.
And it was almost way worse there as well. As you saw, Cass's kick was in line to kicking 3 people. He was going to have knockups everywhere, but the flash from Demonte kept him alive towards the back end. And I told Elijah in that team fight, that rocket grab went to Narnia, as our friend Ejim would say, but it didn't matter because RNG got that bait that they wanted.
All right, after the reset here, they do have the teleports for Xiaohu and Demonte, but both of them have to be a little bit careful about pushing out the waves. As you can see, they're going to get their own control wards basically around mid-turret right now, try and reset their footing.
And who's sort of fighting for initiative at this point? Because I feel like Clutch will be on a timer against RNG anyway, but I'm looking at a Xayah and a Kayle, and I'm thinking that Clutch really need to try and put their feet down in this mid-game, in this 15 to 30 minute mark, to really try and close it and at least try and get themselves a Baron in this moment. Would that be a correct assessment, guys?
I mean, maybe not the Baron at this moment because it's 17.
I mean, not now. I mean, you can't get it now, but you know what I mean.
No, but I like your thinking. For me, it's really looking at Demonte and Lyra and kind of what these two champions are doing on the map, because I look at Nocturne and Syndra at this point in the game, I'm like, they're probably the strongest champions right now, the kill pressure that they have, but Lyra is actually being used kind of as just a shadow. He's playing Peter Pan to Huni, and Cody's left by himself.
Yeah, he is able to dash out of the way. Was respecting the rocket grab, most definitely, and you can see, able to deal with the minion wave nicely as well. Clutch keeping that one very healthy in the mid lane is Kobe.
Yeah, keep your eyes on the rage bar for Gnar, because this is one of the biggest things when selecting this champion. It's one of the biggest things that we saw in the last team fight that you have to work around. RNG actually played around it better than Clutch did last time, taking advantage of Huni while he did not have rage built up. Currently, he had just built some up there, but they called not to go for the initiation and lose out on a lot of turret health in response.
And we're seeing one of the advantages to Blitzcrank here is that when you get to walk up and there's no enemy wave in front of you, just the threat of ripping someone off of the tower means that Clutch basically have to give away a huge chunk of the health on mid lane tower. So Ming being very threatening by not even just throwing the hook, but threatening that he could.
Really aggressive positioning from him there as well, as he got the rocket grab as the Relentless Pursuit was used, so dodged a lot of culling damage there as well, as the blue buff is going to be stolen over the wall and very comfortably grabbed there, as everyone's getting flashbacks to their solo queue games where there's a Blitzcrank picked up and they're just incredibly tilted at the very beginning.
As we approach the mid game here, we have to look at how key the usage of these big ults are going to be. For Clutch Gaming, if they don't get an engage with the Rakan and Gnar ultimate, it is going to be so difficult for them to deal with the defensive cooldowns that RNG have drafted themselves. Xiaohu and Uzi, both with self-peel ultimates for themselves, on the side of RNG, make it a big war between the offensive cooldowns versus the defensive ones. And currently, they're trying to gain some ground with the control wards to get the initiative advantage for themselves. Without that, it's going to be so hard, to find an effective flank.
And as you can see, Ming has a bounty on his head. He's a 2-0-1 Blitzcrank. This bottom lane from RNG has not been the focus on Clutch's side. So we can safely say that Clutch has been focusing on getting their solo lanes ahead. As you can see, Demonte does do a fair bit of damage. But is that going to be enough moving out of this mid game towards the late game as we get there? I feel like they're playing very safe. And you were telling us that the chaos style of this paranoia, and then you can get that big burst damage down while it's dark for everyone on RNG's side. I think that requires you to make some moves and make some decisions that Clutch just can't seem to find.
Well, Clutch are, as Kobe pointed out, trying to dark the map for RNG so they can try to find these opportunities. The last time RNG were actually sieging, though.
Oh,
Hold
no.
it.
Wow, Lyra.
Oh,
Brilliant
close.
spell shield timing. As that sweeper almost turned the lights out for them as well, which would have been ironic for a Nocturne, of course. But RNG are going to be okay. There's the flash rocket grab. Ming is going to miss it. As now Huni with that Mega Gnar available. Not a time that RNG really want to fight, but it looks like they still kind of want to.
They're just going to wait out the Mega Gnar. So RNG see that Huni has gone into Mega Gnar. They're now just going to disengage. As soon as he drops, then they're going to poke in their head and look for another engagement. So Clutch, if you're going to take this, you better take it now.
Yep, this could be the timing that they're looking for, as Huni is going to run out of that Gnar bar, and now RNG feeling a little bit more safe to group up as well. They are going to do so. Don't find the rocket grab once again, does Ming. Everyone seems to have an ability to move out of the way of that one. I think he's got to start focusing on Demonte with the rocket grab. I think he's the least mobile.
Yeah, trading flashes Blitzcrank for Syndra is always worth it, because now the Syndra is going to have that reliance to be able to get out next time. It looks like they're going to give up the Dragon here for RNG and opt for some turret gold for Xiaohu instead. They really want to fund this Kale. Again, going for the Nashers into Rage Blade build, already level 11, is going to be a big threat for the team fights.
One of the
Only 4 more levels to go.
One of the key differences between RNG and other LPL teams is their ability to trade objectives. We think about LPL teams as always looking for the fights, but RNG will always wait objectives if they want to fight for them. And in that case, when you lose vision control over a Cloud Drake, but you see that you have complete control over the top side of the map and the tower, they'll always go for that. So they are much more a controlled, macro-oriented LPL team than some of the other teams at the international stage is used to seeing.
That being said, speed is utilized by the Clutch Gaming draft very well here. If they can get Huni into position with the Gnar quick enough to be able to use that effective ultimate, then that could be a game changer for them. Still though, RNG continue to stack up that gold. They continue to move ahead, and their scaling is getting so difficult to deal with. The Rage Blade now completed for Xiaohu on Kale.
So the big scary moment for Clutch fans is when Uzi completes third item, and of course Kale is level 16. So that window is getting very close to shutting, and you can almost feel kind of the desperation coming from Clutch as they are trying to problem solve how to get a foot back in this game. Because so far, they've been stalled out for a very long time by RNG.
Ming gonna just keep throwing out hooks as well. Blitzcrank, there's not
cooldown.
Yeah, there's not a big downside to continue to move up and throw out hooks. And that's all that RNG need, is one good one to land to force the engagement.
And now RNG clearing out the vision around this Baron pit. And Clutch, I was about to say that they had done a decent job getting those wards in there, but like a cycle that just keeps on repeating so far, it's RNG that get in there and they make the map dark yet again. And now Clutch sort of relegated to hanging around in this mid lane, and there's the silence, but not going to quite be there on the rocket grab.
Excellent combo there, not to throw the Q first, but instead try to tag with the silence to make sure that Rakan couldn't move out of the way. And just by the hair on his chin, Vulcan gets out of that one.
His chinny chin, you might say. Clutch, oh, these rocket grabs are getting so frightening for Clutch fans, but it is not many of them landing.
Yeah, it's funny because you can dodge 20 rocket grabs in a row, but if you get pulled by one that gives up the Baron fight for your team, then it's all tears.
I also want to point out, as we continue in this tournament, another thing that RNG are much better at than other LPL teams is their vision denial game. Not just placing the vision, but making sure that when they move into an area that they're bringing the control wards and they're making that map dark. We've talked about it a couple of different times throughout this game, but it's something to keep track of as we go further into the tournament, and why champions like Blitzcrank and champions that can create other pick potential, like if they got their hands on a Syndra, or even Xiaohu's famous Zoe, is so devastating for them because they can use it to such effectiveness around Fog of War.
Excellent point, just shown by Demonte's movement. Him on Syndra, he couldn't move up past here, but here we go.
Yep, there's the paranoia as the rocket grab is going to come in. That's going to proc the aftershock, but it's not going to be enough. The shutdown comes in onto Ming, but now Uzi is kiting Huni around, dodges one of those boomerangs, and now Kasa, can he get into the backline? He dives on him with the safeguard. There's the kickback onto Cody-san, slowed down and destroyed by Longxing, as the Crocodile is still going to survive, but it's still a 4v4. Demonte gets the scat of the week, but it looks like Clutch have made it out.
All right, is that going to be a big turn here? Because they got the exchange kill, Cody Sun for Ming, it looks like nobody going to take any objectives afterwards, and Clutch will walk away. They would really want to try and use this brief moment of respite to try and clear out some of the vision around Baron, because that is where RNG are going to continue to pull them back to.
As we take another look at this one, Clutch thought that they had their moment. They went into darkness at a Fog of War. Yes, they do pick up the kill, the shutdown there for Damonte. That's going to feel good, but here comes the turnaround TP from Longxing.
Yeah, Vulcan does want to get there as early as possible to try and get the charm as soon as he gets in. The Kayle ultimate, actually pretty good knockback from Damonte to push Longxing back for a while, but he's able to get back in with the flash there. And then Xiaohu has stacked up Rage Blade, so he's able to chase off Hoonies. Can't charge up the Rage for Meganar.
Important summoners, though, of course, that Cody Sun is now working without his flash, whereas Uzi has his. So the next time that team fight comes around, he has to play it picture perfect. Now, this said, Damonte finally does have his flash, so maybe Syndra can try to cover that difference by being much more aggressive in her positioning in these fights.
Also, if you look at the inventories right now, one of the biggest things to keep track of are stopwatches, and RNG have 3 stopwatches selected for themselves, whereas there's no more stasis available for Clutch. It's going to be very difficult for them to actually navigate those windows.
Clutch now trying to play around Ming, making sure they have minions in the way so these rocket grabs aren't going to land.
They're
forcing.
pinging the Baron, yeah.
Yeah, another Cloud Drake going to be taken, but if this is traded for a Baron, definitely worth it here for Clutch.
Again, Hoonie's going to run out of Meganar right now, and after you run out of Meganar, you're starved for Rage. You can't generate any more for a while. That's going to give RNG the Drake as well as the positioning on mid lane. They don't have to go to the Baron. They're going to try and force on the tower and dare Clutch to start it.
Well, looks like they have. As you can see, the Baron has been started. The rest of RNG are going to move on over. It's very dark in that pick, but it is going to be a 50-50. Can Casa get on in there is going to be the question, as now the rest of RNG in position. The turn, there's the quickness. The burn, is it going to be enough? Yes, onto the Blitzcrank, but can they find the team fight? Lyra gets in, gets out again. The flash now from Huni, but doesn't get the stun onto Longxing, and now Xiaohu, a gigantic beast, has found himself 2 stragglers, and the divine judgment onto Longxing means it's an immortal crocodile for RNG. The team fight looks beautiful so far, and Clutch are just running for the hills. The Q, the Sonic Wave is enough to take down the Nocturne. Now RNG could have their try at the Baron.
It looked like a brief moment of hope for Clutch Gaming, but RNG got in the middle of that team fight and ripped Clutch from the inside out right there, and everyone was left running for the hills. It's now RNG on the Baron.
Here we go. Clutch Gaming coming around to answer. They don't have a smite. Their only hope is maybe Damonte stealing it over the wall with a Syndra burst.
Yeah, certainly does have a fair bit of damage as Longxing gets over the wall. 3 members of Clutch there to greet him as Casa locks down the Baron. Can they find a team fight? Looks like no, as Clutch keep 3 alive.
Karsa's the Beastmaster. If he's in the pit, he gets the monster.
Okay, got it.
Is able to land that smite. I think, Frost, the moment that the hope for Clutch Gaming in that team fight comes crashing down is when Huni flash Gnar ults onto only Longxing. That opens up the entire backline of RNG to move forward. If they don't have to worry about the flash Gnar ultimate, then they move in, the Kayle charge up, Uzi comes through, and they absolutely run Clutch Gaming off. So Clutch did get the upper hand early on with the kill, but I think they got a little bit too hyped up in chasing forward and focused a lot of their resources on their Renekton.
And again, we have so many of these team fights, just like in the previous game, where it's kind of coming down into micro decisions within the team fight that is breaking everything open. And RNG's ability to play around a Gnar as kind of a staple champion in the LPL is exceptional today.
Oh, the rocket grab's gonna land this time, and Uzi picks up the kill into Cody-san. There's only so many times you can relentless pursue out of the way of that rocket grab before it's gonna finally hit you. And of course, Ming has thrown out so many this game.
And with the Baron buff, RNG will take mid. They will take mid inhibitor. They also have bottom lane minions moving up. They are going to destroy so much of the Clutch Gaming defenses in one fell swoop.
Yep, feeling like cooking show League of Legends here. The minion wave I prepared earlier moves towards this next inhibitor turret. They'll take down 2 inhibs already, and still 2 minutes left on that Baron buff. This is a huge power play as in goes Casa, but he gets knocked up. Divine Judgment has to be invested, but it does keep the Lee Sin alive and gets RNG out of there with the prizes they were looking for.
Yeah, very, very swiftly take out 2 inhibitors for themselves and leave Clutch Gaming reeling with only defense on their mind.
It's now a 10K plus gold lead in favor of RNG. We talked about it at the beginning that their composition really runs away with the scaling now that they have level 15, soon to be level 16 Kale, and 3 items plus defensive on Uzi Zaya right now. This feels pretty buttoned up from RNG.
Yeah, I was going to mention that actually before, but we didn't really get a chance. There was too much fighting, too much sieging going on. We had to check out that last team fight, but Uzi's items are... yeah, they're pretty impressive at this stage, and it looks like we've crested the top of this volcano that is RNG's start to Worlds in 2019. As far as that gold graph is concerned, rest of the team now, we still do need to cross the T's and dot the I's on RNG's side. Clutch could try and pull something out. They're not called Clutch for nothing, but it's looking really difficult.
And as Kobe's been talking about in these team fights, it's all about Huni. Can you get that 5-man Mega Gnar? Can you just immediately burst someone with the Nocturne and the Syndra on his CC and playing around this Rage Bar? So there's Mega Gnar again. Can they find the fight they're looking for?
Yeah, look at the countdown on that Rage Bar. Clutch, this is the time that they have for trying to engage a fight. They really can't do it without Huni and his CC available, and it looks like it's worn off. They're just going to dive on underneath. They know exactly what the thing is here as Ming throws out his ultimate Divine Judgment on him this time, as well as Demonte delivered to RNG with a bow on top. Down to the GA as well is Lyra, as the rest of the Clutch Gaming squad are running towards the fountain. I don't even know whether they're safe there as the minions, there are so many of them knocking down these Nexus turrets. RNG making a statement in their debut game at Worlds 2019, will destroy the Nexus and join SKT as 1-0 in this group.
RNG coming out looking very strong here. Zaya bottom lane for Uzi, mid lane Kale as well, scaling up and adding to that security that they know they can rely on later.
And they didn't have to change anything. This is the RNG that we saw